Welcome back to Counterculture. It's been a few minutes.
A few minutes.
A few minutes.
Yes.
You are still Pastor Mark.
I am.
Someday it's going to change. We're going to be like, no, that's Dr. Mark to you. And I will know, like, our whole relationship has changed.
That's it. That's Dr. Mark to you.
All right, so I want to be in Romans
Okay.
chapter 12.
Yep.
Very familiar.
Right.
Can you read me the first couple verses?
Therefore I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will.
So there's obviously there's a bunch of stuff in this. I
Yep.
mean, lots of good books have been written, lots of good sermons. You've preached good sermons on this. But what struck me recently when I read this a few days ago was the mercies of God, right? Aspect of this, by the mercies of God. When we talk about counterculture, one of the hard things for Christianity is we really do believe as humans in this whole I am a self-made man concept.
Yeah.
Right? We believe in I have worked hard for everything I have. I have not done what all the other people have done around me. I haven't slacked in any way, shape, or form. But like what I have, it's funny because I run into people who look at what they have and go, I've worked hard for everything I have. And then they look at what other people have and seemingly think they haven't. Right? Worked hard for what they've got. It's all been given to you. You got an inheritance, or you've just got an easy job or an easy life, or you didn't have special needs kids or a special needs spouse or whatever it is. Right? But Christianity is this whole idea that we are a living sacrifice. We're to present ourselves as a living sacrifice, but we can't do that on our own. We can only get the things of God and what God has for us by the mercies of God. So tell me, how as a pastor over the years, have you how have you worked against this idea of people wanting to work their way to heaven, earn their way into things, and being able to share with them, you got to work hard, but you're never going to accomplish it on your own?
Well, okay, so here's what's coming to my mind as I think about my own tradition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have often heard people say, well, salvation is what God does for me. Sanctification is what I do for God.
Mm-hmm.
Implying that sanctification is something we do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're told to sanctify ourselves. Now, if you understand what that means, it means to set apart.
Right.
So, to present yourselves as living sacrifices means our part is to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
His part is to do whatever needs to be done. So let's take the lamb.
Mm-hmm.
You would bring your lamb, is my understanding. They would take the lamb, and the priest was actually the one that did the chopping up and all that stuff, or the bull, whatever it was. So, the whole works thing, of course, was it Martin Luther I think wanted to throw Jimmy out, as he put it. I think it was Martin Luther said, we've got to throw Jimmy out in James, the book of James.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was battling so much against works righteousness that he didn't want to, that he almost like, well, you don't have to do anything. That our works is a result of his work in us. And that is how I presented it, is that it isn't that you don't do anything, it's why you do it. If you're doing it to get saved, we work out our salvation with fear and trembling. Oh, see, I got to work it out. Well, that's surrender. Our part is always surrender and faith that God is doing something.
Yeah.
And out of and that's about our being. And out of our being will flow the doing.
Yep. I think, again, what makes things equal at the foot of the cross is this idea that we all need the mercies of God.
Yes. Yeah.
But the problem with human nature is we naturally go to this idea that I need his mercies less than you do. Right? Because we know ourselves. And no matter how much Jesus attempted to say that that's just not true, he took the very spiritual, religious people of the time and basically said, they're worse off than any of the rest of you.
Yeah. Lord, help me not to be like that person.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do. And it's very easy to say, well, here's the one. So there's something bad going on in your life. Well, you must have sin in your life.
Yep.
I do have sin in my life. It's someone else's. Because maybe someone else's choices impacted me.
Yep.
That's still sin in my life, but it may not be my sin. Do I have my sin? Yeah, sometimes I just saw it again, everything happens for a reason. Yes, and sometimes because you made a dumb decision.
Yep.
And I've done that, So without it being narcissistic, we do start with, is there any unclean way in me?
Start with me.
And then, and we were talking about earlier, it's not that we're not to take the speck out of someone else's eye, but it does mean that we make sure we're working on ourselves first.
Yes.
So it's easy to say, look over there, because then no one looks here.
Yep.
Or to point the finger, there's one finger pointing that way, but there's three pointing back at me saying, So it's not a matter, especially as pastors, it is part of our job to help people walk with Christ. And we do not do them any favors by sugarcoating anything. Anything.
So that ties into the second part of this, right? Where he says in verse 2, do not be conformed into this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. We don't see clearly to pull out the speck until our mind has been transformed. Right? So we have to be willing to say, check me. Is there anything in me? I need to fix these things, right? Yeah. And then I can test the will of God. Then I can test things, the spirits, and I can say, okay, hey, this seems off to me in this person.
Yes.
And then that helps me see clearly. But when I haven't dealt with the sin in my own life,
yes,
when I change the standard for me and say, it's okay for me to have this or do this or say this or be this, but it's not okay for this person.
Right.
Well, we haven't transformed our mind to realize that it's the mercies of God that get us where we need to be. Not our own thinking, not our own making, not our own stuff.
Right. Yes. No, I agree. I was looking at that and I'm like, so then you will be able, so then it's like the therefore, the then. So once we have submitted ourselves to God, given ourselves over to him, then we can start discerning what is God doing. And part of that sacrifice is a matter of I don't know that I like what God's asking me to do. Well, then you're not probably a living sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because that sacrifice is done. It means you don't kind of come back.
Ooh, I like that.
It's like you have one of your cows butchered. Well, it'll be back next week. No, it won't. It's gone. It'll be back, but it's going to be back in hamburger.
Yeah.
It's going to be hamburger or
steaks.
So, which is the other thing. So now we're onto something here.
I know.
Now we're onto something.
I know the exact moment you get on something. Your whole countenance changes.
We take ourselves to market.
Yeah.
So that God can make something useful out of us.
So we can
your
come back
cows
in
out. Your cows out in the pasture are nice. They're pretty to look at. They're fertilizing the grass. They're keeping it mowed down. But that is not their purpose. The idea of coming to Christ and offering our bodies as a living sacrifice is for God to transform us into something useful and purposeful in this world. And that is what we're to do. That's so what is God's will for my life? Yes. First and foremost, it's your character development.
Yeah.
It is to transform you. I can preach holiness at my church. I can preach holiness at your church. I can preach holiness in Hawaii or Florida or somewhere warmer, as we're all getting sick of the cold in New York. That's, sometimes I think we get so hung up on, well, what does God want me to do? Does he want me to stay? He wants you to be holy. It is God's will that you be holy.
Yeah.
As he is holy. It doesn't matter where you're at, you still have to be holy. You still have to be a follower of Christ and be transformed.
So
From beef to hamburger.
So are you saying that we may potentially have some people in our churches that are just out to pasture?
Yes.
With no real
value?
That is that what you're saying?
Mic drop. That's exactly what I'm saying. Now that I've ruined the thing. There we go.
It sounds like
it's exactly what I'm saying. Is we're not, ships are safe in harbors, but ships aren't designed to be in harbors. They're designed to be out on the open. You got to get out of the harbor. And too many people in our church today are just standing in the pasture. But wait a minute. Psalm 23, he leads me to green pastures.
Yeah.
So, but that's only for a moment.
The funny part about sheep and cows and all those things, but specifically my cows, you can put them out and there is 25 acres of lush green pasture.
Yeah.
And they will take a couple bites here
Yeah.
and then trample a bunch of it and then go take a couple bites here and trample it. They are constantly moving to keep the digestion going.
Yeah.
Right? We have people in our pastures that just come and they sit and they get fat.
Or they're full of gas.
And they're not. Their digestion isn't
The
working.
digestion's not working. And they're like, oh, why do I feel so bloated? Because you got to move.
That's exactly. We were not designed to stay in one place.
No, we're not.
Nice. But we also have to be still and know sometimes.
So, yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's a time to move and there's a time to be still.
I'm pretty sure that we have referred to many different scriptures.
Yes.
Somebody who's watching this today will be like, they went from Psalms to Ecclesiastes to all over the place. Well, listen, we've given you a lot to chew on.
Yes, chew your cud. Another cow reference there.
Accidentally on purpose, we have given you a bunch to chew on.
Ruminate. This is going downhill fast.
Right. Because soon this ends with
they're gonna want to. They're vomiting a little bit in their mouths right now. Now these guys have gone too far.
This ends with coming back in little white packages, and that's not what we necessarily want. So we're gonna let you chew on some of that stuff, and we'll see you next time right here.
Grace and peace. I think I just got my